Welcome to Kamjiverse. This is your exclusive bridge between the legacy of classical Africa and the triumphs of modern African revolutions. You won't find this connection anywhere else. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with friends and family. Become a channel member or join our Patreon. The links are waiting in the description. Let's honor our sacred legacy and ignite our future together.
You got this situation with Gabon and Russia. It's a win-win. According to Defense Express, Russia sells latest Spartak AFVs to Gabon after it helped in acquiring aircraft parts. The new defense deal seems a bit more than just about Russia's conquest of the African market, but a mutually beneficial tech cooperation. During a recent parade, the Gabonese army showcased its possession of Russian-made Spartak, wheeled armored fighting vehicles, which were notably equipped with M2 Browning machine guns. Photos of these vehicles have been circulating on social media. This development is unusual for several reasons. First, there have been no prior reports of Russia exporting its latest wheeled armored vehicles to other countries. Second, any military cooperation between Kremlin and African nations tends to attract special attention in light of Moscow's unhidden plans to conquer the African defense market. According to the Military Balance 2023 guidebook, Gabon previously had no Soviet or Russian heavy military equipment, aside from a limited number of Zu-23-2 and ZPU-4 anti-aircraft guns. Gabon is a country with a defense budget limited to only $300 million annually, which typically precludes the possibility of large-scale purchases of military equipment and weapons. Given this context, the appearance of Russian Spartak armored vehicles in Gabon's arsenal raises questions about the nature of the cooperation between Russia and Gabon. After all, Moscow has been eyeing the country for a while. There are reports that in 2021, the Russian Ministry of Defense provided Gabon with the shipment of the small arms free of charge, ostensibly to establish bilateral cooperation and assist in anti-poaching efforts. Since August 2023, Gabon has been under military rule following a coup that overthrew the legitimate government and set the country on a path to distance itself from France, which maintains a contingent of approximately 350 troops in Gabon, with plans to reduce this to 100. Official customs statistics reported by the Moscow Times indicate that in 2023, Russia imported civil aviation spare parts worth $2 billion, with a significant portion, $1.48 billion, channeled through a shell company registered in Gabon. The owner of this company, though, is a citizen of Kyrgyzstan. For Russia, the supply of aircraft components is critical. Having launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the Russian Federation found itself banned from buying or leasing aircraft or other components due to sanctions. These restrictions have caused severe supply issues for maintaining Russia's remaining operational aircraft, so it's plausible that the delivery of Spartak AFVs to Gabon was a form of payment or a token of appreciation for facilitating the acquisition of essential spare parts. And this is again why the United States has moved to sanction Gabon, because they don't want the Ruskies to get any access to the aircraft parts that they're trying to ban from their market. And again, this speaks to the positive neutrality that various African nations can develop. Even though Nguema is not necessarily on the fold with respect to the true Black liberation movement, the Garveyite movement in the Sahelian states, he's showing, certain degrees of political intelligence with his ability to gain certain resources from these BRICS nations when it comes to the development of African potential and the development of African societies. So this situation, dealing with the Russian and them gifting, them as a token of appreciation, definitely speaks to the changing dynamic of African politics, where you have African nations playing the middle ground and building and developing their energy, their infrastructure, their interconnection, with the larger growing global economy. This is changing the way that they relate to many of the previous colonial forces. And we know that a lot of African nations need the technology. Western states are not going to give them the technology unless it's something that they can control or unless it's a hand-me-down. But there also needs to be the development of indigenous technologies as a way to defend, these indigenous African technologists, using indigenous knowledge systems to develop the technology of the 21st and the 22nd century. These different mental, acuities and different systems of mental attenuation, and us focusing on securing our land, our resources, and the vision of the African people. This is what it's going to take to be able to move us beyond needing these foreign actors as a primary source of security and as a primary source of our daily bread. Because we definitely have the ability, agriculturally, infrastructurally to be able to provide a lot of different things to our people without needing to be bolstered by trade agreements, or aid agreements rather. We have to be bolstered by the trade agreements of African nations on the African continent, the different commerce moving in and out of different nation states and territorial polities. That's going to be important when it comes to securing our wealth and resources, making sure that black people in Africa are the first ones who have access to land ownership, and foreigners are last until the needs of the people of the land on the land are satisfied. This is the Garveyite principle that we have to carry into the future. No foreigner should be allowed to own property, private property on the African continent. This should be first and foremost for the black men and women on the land, right? That's an easy principle that we could use, and we're going to get deeper into the purpose of Garveyism in the 21st century. But this is an easy principle that we could use to develop numerous technologies to liberate our people on a global scale, So that's all I got for this one. This is an interesting story. You know, the Ruskies are at it again, and they're using Gabon as a pawn on their geopolitical chess. Will Africans eventually develop autonomy, to be able to navigate these geopolitical waters, with authority? Only time will tell. That's all I got for this. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.
Join the Kamjiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.